Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Ashley if you are new here, and in this video I wanted to talk about our preschool wins from this past year. So these are the things that I'm really thankful for this past year, and also some things that I think could be used as like tips for you if you are going into your first year homeschooling or you're researching homeschooling. I think that some of this stuff could be really helpful if you are looking for some ways to get started. So the very first thing that I would say that went really well for us is that we learned so much. And by we, I mean really technically both of us. My son learned literally so much. Like, I don't think when I first started homeschooling, I could have imagined how much he could have learned over just the course of one school year. But when we started preschool we started in October, technically didn't start our formal curriculum until November. And so my son did November through June of the formal curriculum. And before that, we were doing little bits here and there, but nothing super consistent and nothing like, I don't think he learned all that much before the curriculum. I will say that. So before he started, he knew the alphabet. I think he could count to 20, I believe. And he could recognize most uppercase letters. And now at the end of the school year, he is able to recognize all uppercase and lowercase letters and distinguish if they are uppercase or lowercase. And he can actually read. I can't believe he learned how to read in preschool. I didn't like set out for him to do that. I didn't have this like idea in my head that like, oh, I really want my son to learn to read really early. I am just someone who believes that like it will come in time. I'm not really wanting to rush his education by any means, because I know that with homeschooling we're able to just move at a much quicker pace than he would or he could move in like a classroom setting, because obviously it's just one-on-one time and you can learn much faster in that format. So I've never really been like feeling all of this pressure to like make sure he gets to do all the things, like learn all of the things really quickly or anything. So that was definitely helpful. So I was just like, I thought it was really awesome, and I'm really proud of both of us that he was able to grow that much in just, his reading phonics alone. But that isn't like all the learning he did either. He learned how to add this year. He learned a lot of geography. He learned a ton of facts about animals. And so, yeah, he learned a whole lot. And I also learned a lot. Obviously, I didn't learn all of like the educational aspect of it, but I learned so much about what it means to be a homeschool parent. I learned about when to push us and when to hold back. And I learned how to like structure our homeschool. I learned that I need to really prioritize certain things in our home life. Like, my homemaking needs to be even more like scheduled and set forth so that I'm not stressed by that kind of thing. We grew in community with other homeschool families. So all in all, the first point is that we learned so much, and I am so thankful for this year, and I'm so thankful for how well it turned out for us. And that leads me to our second point, which was that we had so much fun doing this, which is like the ultimate goal of homeschooling, right? Like, we want to stay home with our kids and we want to have fun with them. We want them to enjoy learning. And I really feel like I saw that happen for my son this year. And when we first started, I said we didn't have a curriculum, but I forgot we actually had started trying to do the Teach Your Child to Read in 100 Easy Lessons. And he really didn't enjoy that. He basically decided, if this is what school is, I don't really want any part of this. I mean, he would do it with me, but like, he definitely didn't enjoy it. And so I actually didn't push it too much. And a lot of that had to do with because I was newly postpartum and I just kind of like I said, had this mindset that I didn't want to like push him. I didn't feel like I needed to get him to be like reading really quickly, or like I initially, if I'm being honest, picked that book because I mean it had been recommended a lot by other YouTubers that I had seen homeschooling, and I had bought it even before we fully decided to homeschool. But a lot of it had to do with like I thought like, oh, if I can teach him to read, then that would be a huge confidence boost. I'll know that I like am doing the right thing if I can do this essentially. And so when it didn't happen and he wasn't enjoying it and it felt like a struggle, and I was also, I had a 1 month old at home and I was, tired and stuff. I felt a little bit upset that like, okay, maybe this isn't going to work, or I don't know. I definitely just luckily feel like God gave me the wisdom to just say like, just don't push him to do this. And so we took a little sort of like a break, but I had some like little workbooks and stuff that we worked on here and there after that. And then that's when I came across the Gather Round preschool curriculum that we started in November and continued on through June. And if I hadn't found that curriculum, honestly, I think we could have had a very different preschool year. I'm not saying that it wouldn't have gone well, but it definitely wouldn't have gone as well. And so, really, my point is that like we had a lot of fun with that curriculum, and my son especially, I'm trying to say that when we started, he wasn't enjoying it, and then when we started that curriculum, he really started thinking like, oh, learning is fun. Like I get to learn about things that I care about. And even though he didn't love doing every aspect of, all the curriculum, sometimes it was difficult for him to learn to read and stuff, but it like kind of convinced him that doing homeschool and learning at home was fun. And that was a huge win because that is, like I said, like the ultimate goal of homeschooling, right? Is that we want to keep our kids home. We want to like tailor their education to them and see them grow in this love of learning. And I feel like we so far have gotten to be able to do that. And I'm so thankful for it. So my next win, I would say, was that I think I mentioned it a little bit already, is just that we really have gotten into a schedule. We really got into, I should call it a routine, really. We didn't always do it at the exact same time or anything, but we learned how to add in things that benefited us, and we got rid of things that didn't benefit us. And there were times throughout the school year where we were in like maybe a rhythm where it wasn't serving us, and I feel like we were able to just adjust it over the year and come to a place of where I feel like it kind of always was adjusting. We always were doing things differently, not every single day, but like week to week, so like we would change like things as our life changed. And I think that's another thing that was really awesome about homeschooling, is that we could just like we could fit it into the day when we need to. We don't have to, at least at this point in time, maybe when all three of the kids are older and they are doing a lot more work, it might be different. But like as of right now, if we didn't do something in the beginning of the day, we could finish it in the end of the day. But for the most part, we had a routine that like really served us, and it evolved as the year went on, which is actually another one of my points. I feel like a huge win for us, and I didn't even intend for this one, but this is definitely something that I would really try to heed if you are getting into homeschooling. I happened to, the win is really that we start out slowly, and I would definitely recommend that you start out slowly if you're just beginning, and especially if you weren't homeschooled yourself, but like I wasn't. But basically, I feel like this was a particular win because I didn't end up finding this homeschooling YouTube community until I was maybe about halfway into preschool. It was kind of once I came out of the newborn haze, I started doing some research on curriculums, and I realized that there's like a whole community of people who are sharing their homeschool journey on YouTube. And I think if I had found that before I started homeschooling, I would have probably tried to do too much too soon. I think I would have tried to do like this really intense morning basket and like read alouds and the curriculum. And when I first started, like I said, I didn't have a curriculum. And then once we did find the curriculum that worked for us, that's all we did most days until like a couple months towards the end of preschool, which is about when I started YouTube. So if you've been watching, you might think that this is what we've been doing all along. But when I was like really, both my son and I were really learning how to homeschool together, I was only doing our curriculum, which really, I mean, a lot of days it really only took us 20 to 30 minutes max. And I think if I had seen what everyone else was doing on YouTube before I started, I think I would have thought like, there's no way this is enough. And it turns out it was more than enough, because it really set this foundation up for my son to love learning. It didn't overwhelm him. Like, whereas he grew, I added in things that I felt he would like. But if I had started everything really soon, I don't think he would have enjoyed it. I think we both would have burned out. So just be aware of that. Obviously, your kids could be very different from mine and it could be fine, but I think that was a huge win for us, is that we started out slowly. And luckily for me, it was because I didn't know about everything else I could have been doing before we started. So our next win is that we found an awesome homeschool play group that I have mentioned many times on this channel. We love this play group. I love the community that is being built there. I love that we are all Christian parents and raising our kids to know and love God. And the kids are all just like really building friendships. And it's just been like the most fun thing to watch. And I'm getting to build friendships with their moms. And that's something that I've really struggled with for a while, is finding other Christian moms that I could be friends with. So it's been all in all like a huge, huge win and a huge answer to prayer. And even if that's the only thing that we end up doing, like for, socialization friendships next year, like I think it would be enough. And I'm so thankful for it. So another win that I am really thankful for this year is that we really grew our read aloud experience, I guess you could say. Not really sure how to word it, but we've always read with Shane, even when he was younger. I probably started reading to him when he was about 1, and we basically just kind of incorporated it into our regular routines, where before nap time and before bed we would read a little bit, and it was just normal. But we obviously, back when he was little, we only read picture books, which was awesome and totally fine. And but throughout this year, we really have started picking up some more chapter books. And we still read picture books, of course, but we are really enjoying the chapter books. And I didn't expect that. I didn't think that, kindergarten was like an appropriate time to start reading chapter books. But I realized as I was seeing some other people on YouTube, like reading to that age group, like chapter books, I realized that my son does have like a really long attention span, and that I'm like, oh, I really think he would enjoy this. So we added that in, and that has been another huge win, that we've just really enjoyed it. And so my last win for this preschool year is that we learned how to pace ourselves. I am someone who tends to kind of jump in with both feet. Like I mentioned, if I had known about all the things I could have been doing in the beginning, I maybe would have attempted to do it all too much too soon. And we learned pacing, but I also learned over the year that it's important to take breaks. And I mostly mean throughout the day, especially when you're working with such young kids. It's important to, like, if you notice they're getting overwhelmed and all of a sudden they went from enjoying what they're doing to not enjoying it really quickly, a lot of the time I'll just tell my son, like, okay, why don't we take a break? Like, why don't you go have a snack or go play outside, get some energy out? And that almost always fixes the problem. So I'm really thankful that I learned that. Something that I need to grow in, though, is learning when I need a break. I tend to, like, put too much on my plate, and then I feel overwhelmed by what's on my plate, and then I won't allow myself to take breaks when I need it. So I need to like start that with myself, but I feel like it's gone really well with my son, and we will do a little bit during breakfast time, and then I'll let them play for a little while, and then we'll do some more. And we're still kind of trying to figure out how we're going to add, read alouds back in, although it is the end of the school year now. So I feel like come next year, like the routines and schedules and everything will probably change drastically. So I'm not really too worried about it, but yeah, I think that was also really helpful for this school year. That might be helpful for you if you are getting into homeschooling. And so that is all of my wins for this year. My next video though is going to be my fails because it sounds like everything was all sunshine and rainbows. And if you made it this far into the video, you might think that it went perfectly, but it did not. We also had fails, but this video is getting kind of long, so I wanted to, put that into the next video. So stay tuned for that. Subscribe if you want to, and I will see you in the next one.